You've got the hang of this now.
All right.
Um, are you ready for your scenario?
No pressure. No pressure.
I've got an interesting character for you.
Okay.
I've got Christine.
Oh, I had that on my list.
Really? Christine the car?
Yes. So I'll just delete her and then I'll give my wheel a little spin here.
All right. Well, you've got Christine the car. Now, while you are spinning, I'm going to give a brief bio. Christine is basically just a haunted car um, that will that the owner becomes attached to until they eventually, I guess, kill themselves. And anyone that comes between the car's owner and the car, Christine will go and kill through um, easy ways, such as like running them over, or ways that are a little more abstract and don't make any sense, like the car doors lock and then the person just starts choking somehow. Um, if you've seen the movie, I actually just watched it for the first time about 2 weeks ago, and I thought it was pretty good. They have the teenage high school bully in there who's clearly played by like a 45-year-old, but other than that,
What do you mean they're
other,
not really in their teens?
I mean, very hard to just very hard to accept for a movie from I guess the 80s. Um, but yeah, it was very that particular character was very jarring because he looked older than the teacher that was disciplining him, and that was really throwing me off. But um, Christine, by the way, is a red and white 1958 Plymouth Fury, and yeah, it can also fix itself. So if the car gets totaled, it just comes back.
Yeah, so that's what we're in 2020. We don't have fixable cars now. They had them in the 80s, but we don't have them now. Come on.
Hmm. We don't have the self-lacing shoes either. So
Things were
Back to
promised.
the Future 2 lied to me. No.
Well, my person's not technically. I put him on here because he's a villain.
Okay.
He's not really horror, but he does some bad things.
I mean, that works. I have Jafar on my list. And
Okay, cool. This I got Scar from Lion King.
oh, Scar from the Lion King versus Christine the car.
No, I don't want to say who would necessarily win, but in my eyes, I feel like this is a pretty good matchup because
The
like
car always wins.
well, it's like that, but it's like, they both want the same thing. Like Scar wanted to be in charge, so he killed his brother. But then he's like, I didn't kill my nephew, so I'm not still technically in charge. I gotta go after him. This car is like loves everyone that's with it, so it's like, hey, you mess with people, you're dead. So they both want to be in charge. I feel like I
So,
don't
are you telling me that you're going to say that Christine is actually Mufasa's car, and after Mufasa's death, Christine seeks revenge?
yes, yes. They were out one day and some, you know, just found this random car like in the sand and like, what is this? Got in it and it self drove itself. And so Mufasa was just like, yeah, this is the best way to go kill animal like food. We can get around super fast. We don't get tired. And then Scar was like, that's a dope car. I need that
The
car.
mileage is very agreeable, Simba.
So he was like, it's mine. But he didn't also realize this car had a mind of its own, was like, no, no, that's not how this works. So instead of another lion and a meerkat and a warthog coming after you, you now have a crazy killer car. I mean,
This is quite a monumental first scenario for a new guest on the show. Christine, the 1958 Plymouth Fury versus Scar from the Lion King. So you're saying they find Christine in like the sands of Africa,
yeah, like a
and
whole Jumanji thing. Like it was buried. Someone was like,
right.
oh, this car has too much power. Let's just bury it.
I mean, no one's to say what year The Lion King actually takes place. So maybe it actually takes place in the 90s when the movie came out. It
Yeah,
doesn't matter.
yeah. So they were just one day walking and they tripped and we're like, there's something shiny. started digging.
Hmm.
This car comes out and was like, the cars don't talk, but if it did, it'd be like, "What's up? Thank you for really digging me out of this sandy pit," and like all this stuff. And then they just like, "Oh, well, I can't drive because I got paws." And through telekinesis, the car was like, "Doesn't matter. I got you." And just like starts driving. And they're like, "What is happening?" I don't know why all of a sudden everyone in The Lion King is super high and like a bro, but they are.
Well, that the visual I'm getting from your description is like one of those BuzzFeed articles, like 15 reimaginings of Disney characters as humans. So you've got like the anthropomorphic like furry like Mufasa, and he's like, "Wow, Simba, this car is bitchin'." It just starts. Mufasa's just driving his 1958 Plymouth Fury across, across the Pride Lands.
Which is,
Everything the high beams touch is yours, Simba.
and then hey, Timon and Pumbaa really like it because like bugs hit the windshield, and it's like
Yeah,
so much easier for them to get gross because they're already on the.
because
It's
they're
a
on
real
the.
win for everyone. I feel like maybe Christine would change her tune and be like, maybe I shouldn't be so mean
Maybe
and
I
start
shouldn't be.
killing people, and I should just really help them. I'm
This is this is so good. So
I mean, the next one that like it was borderline between Scar and the next one on my list, and I feel like either the two right around Scar, just like these three in this row, either way would have been a real hard one.
mine was also right on the line. It was either Christine or the Predator. And now the Predator versus Scar, I feel like that's a whole conversation right there.
Mine was on Scar or Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
That's perfect. Ah, I love Killer Clowns.
Who
Um,
who does it again? If we don't get to that one, you have to watch Killer Clowns if you've never watched it because it's just a joy and the most
I
weird thing ever.
if you do not have the Blu-ray edition by Arrow Video, I assure you that you're missing out because that's one of the greatest buys I've gotten.
Mhm.
It comes with brand new like hand-drawn art for the cover, and it comes with a poster.
I got a mini coloring book with mine.
Nice. Um, so so your scenario is that Scar kills Mufasa, who found this new like bitchin' car,
Yep.
and basically the car's just trying to get revenge on Scar the whole time.
Yes.
That's your match.
Yep. And then like even if he sends like hyenas or anything to like attack the cart, she can put herself back together. So
Yeah.
she's always just gonna be out for revenge.
Mufasa's out there. Mufasa and Simba are taking a joyride and just running over a bunch of like antelope and shit. And Mufasa's
With
like,
Rafiki on the roof.
yeah, Rafiki's the backseat driver.
No, just hits him with it.
They say the lionesses do the hunting. But can the lionesses do 90? It's just mowing down. And you know what? We got to make this a little bit more Disney, a little bit more Lion King. So I'm going to add on to this that the eventual true matchup here is that Christine's um, toxic emissions are actually destroying the Pride Lands as we know it,
Yep.
and therefore ruining the circle of life. But Christine's a car, and she doesn't care.
Just, I mean, she's right up there with like, I feel like, warthogs and their parts. So she's just like, hey, whatever. And Timon's like, don't blame that on me. And Pumbaa are like, no, no, wasn't me. It was the car who killed everything,
It was the car.
not me.
Oh my god. What a scenario. Anyone that's listening, please submit your Scar versus Christine fan art. Alternatively, get me some fan art of Christine, the 1958 Plymouth Fury versus Lightning McQueen. I'd really like to see that.
Just racing. If they win, they get to become the face of Dino Tech.
Yeah. Wow.
Wow.
Wow, this car's murdering everyone, Mater.
There's like, nah, well, and then he's like, I can give her a tow, but that's
Gator
the
duh. Jesus Christ.
You know,
All
I
right.
feel like Christine and like the one like car that forgets everything, they'd be just great friends because she'd be like, hey, this is what I just did. And she'd be like, need some gas? That'd be it.
Christine, the 1958 Plymouth Fury, in the Pride Lands, fighting Scar from The Lion King. This is why we have the show. You'll only hear about this stuff here because I guarantee that none of you, except for maybe one really sick fuck on DeviantArt, has probably thought of this combination.
Man, this hey, but I mean that's the fun of it, you know? It could happen and it did.
And it did. Here and only here will you hear about that on this podcast.